They gonna find us?
The sun had long since dipped below the horizon, leaving the town of sagebrush to bathe in the ghostly glow of twilight. The dusty streets of this frontier town were nearly empty, save for a few men lingering at the saloon and the distant whinny of horses tethered to posts. But within the confines of the church at the far end of town, a different kind of tension simmered, one of secrecy, a forbidden passion. Isabel Bradford, the preacher's daughter, stood in the shadows of the small church's side room, peering out the window. She was dressed in a modest light blue dress, her auburn hair neatly pulled back in a bun. The delicate, graceful features of her face betrayed no sign of the turmoil brewing within her. She had been taught all her life that a woman's place was one of quiet submission, devotion, and purity. But tonight, her heart beat wildly with thoughts that defied all the rules she had been raised to follow. A knock at the door shattered the silence. "Come in," Isabel called softly, her voice laced with both anticipation and fear. The door creaked open, and in stepped a tall figure, his silhouette cutting through the dim light. The outlaw, the man she had secretly been seeing for months, stood before her. His name was Elijah Black, a notorious gunslinger with a reputation that struck fear into the hearts of most. But to Isabel, he was different. He wasn't the cold-hearted killer that the town believed him to be. He was something else entirely, someone who made her feel alive in a way she never had before. Elijah tipped his hat back, his dark eyes glinting with a mix of mischief and longing. "You still waiting for me, Isabel?" She swallowed hard, forcing a smile. "I was," she said softly, stepping closer to him. "But I didn't think you would come tonight. Wouldn't miss it for the world," Elijah said, his voice low and gravelly. He reached out, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face, his fingers lingering on her skin. "We've been sneaking around long enough. Tonight, I can't stay away any longer." Isabel's heart skipped a beat. She knew the risks. If anyone in the town found out about their affair, the secret love affair between the preacher's daughter and an outlaw, it would ruin them both. Her father would disown her, and Elijah would have even more enemies than he already did. But in the quiet moments when she was with him, none of that mattered. The world outside faded, and she was left with only the warmth of his touch and the electric tension between them. "Elijah," she whispered, her voice trembling, "we can't keep doing this. It's dangerous." He smiled, though it was tinged with sadness. "You think I don't know that? But you've got something inside you, Isabel. Something you ain't showing to the world. I see it, and I can't leave without you." Her breath hitched in her throat. The passion in his eyes mirrored her own desires she had spent years suppressing. The preacher's daughter was supposed to be reserved, pure, and obedient. But Elijah made her feel free, alive in a way she had never known. "You don't understand," she said softly, turning her gaze to the window, where the orange glow of the sunset had almost vanished. "I'm not like you, Elijah. I can't just throw everything away. My father, the church, they would never forgive me." Elijah stepped closer, placing his hand gently on her shoulder. "Then why are we here, Isabel? Why do you keep coming back to me if you ain't ready to take that leap?" She closed her eyes, a tear slipping down her cheek. "Because I'm scared. I'm scared of what it means, of what it could cost." He cupped her face in his hands, tilting her chin upward until their gazes locked. "You don't have to be scared of me, Isabel. You're the only thing that's kept me going these past few months. I've been fighting my own demons, but with you, I don't feel like I'm lost anymore." A silence hung between them, thick with the weight of unspoken words. Finally, Elijah leaned down and kissed her, softly at first, then with more intensity as her body responded to his touch. Isabel's hands found their way to his chest, feeling the steady thrum of his heart beneath his worn shirt. She could feel the heat rising between them, the undeniable pull of desire. But just as quickly as it had ignited, she pulled back, breathless. "Elijah, what are we doing?" she asked, her voice shaking. "Living," he replied simply, brushing his thumb over her lips. "We're living, Isabel. We're not waiting for someone else to tell us what we should be." The sound of footsteps outside the church interrupted their moment. Isabel's heart dropped, and she quickly pulled away from him. "Someone's coming," she whispered urgently. Elijah cursed under his breath, but he was already moving toward the door. "I'll go, but this ain't over, Isabel. I'll be back." She nodded, her chest heavy with both fear and longing. "You have to go, Elijah. Please, don't let anyone know. Please." "I won't," he said, his voice low. "But I'll be back for you. Don't forget that." With that, he was gone, slipping into the night like the outlaw he was. Isabel stood in the empty room, her hands still trembling, her heart torn. The world outside would never understand what she had with Elijah. It was a love that defied all the rules she had been raised to follow. But for the first time in her life, she felt like she was choosing her own path. The days that followed were filled with unease. Isabel tried to focus on her duties at the church, but her thoughts were consumed with Elijah. Each glance toward the door, each creak of the floorboards, made her heart race. She couldn't shake the feeling that the world was closing in around her, and then, as if the universe itself had conspired against her, the worst possible thing happened. One afternoon, as she was walking through town to buy supplies, she heard the unmistakable sound of hooves behind her. She turned to find Elijah, standing tall on his horse, his eyes scanning the crowd. Her heart leapt, but it was quickly followed by a surge of panic. Someone might recognize him. Someone might know what he was doing here. "You need to leave," she said quickly, glancing nervously over her shoulder. Elijah didn't move, his gaze fixed on her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Not without you," he said, his voice steady, though his eyes were filled with something more, something deeper. Isabel shook her head, her hands clenching at her sides. "You have to go, Elijah. They're going to find out. My father." "Your father doesn't own you, Isabel," he interrupted, his voice hard. "You're not some prize to be given away like cattle." The word stung more than she expected. She had always known that her life had been planned for her, to marry a man of the church, to live a life of service and humility. But with Elijah, for the first time, she felt like she had the power to choose her own destiny. "You don't understand," she said, tears filling her eyes. "I can't just walk away from everything. My whole life, it's here." Elijah's gaze softened, and he dismounted his horse, stepping closer to her. "Then don't walk away, Isabel. Come with me. We'll make a new life. Together." The town around them seemed to fade into the background, and for a moment, Isabel could see nothing but Elijah. His proposal wasn't just an offer, it was a lifeline, a chance to escape the suffocating weight of her family's expectations and live a life of freedom, of love, a life with him. "I can't," she whispered, shaking her head. "It's too dangerous. What if we're happy?" he asked gently, cupping her face with his rough hands. "What if you choose love over fear?" Isabel closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. She had lived her whole life in fear. Fear of disappointing her father, of living a life of duty and sacrifice. But with Elijah, there was no fear, only the promise of something more, something real. "I love you," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Elijah's lips brushed against hers, the kiss sweet but full of yearning. "Then come with me," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "We'll leave this town, start fresh. Just the two of us." Isabel hesitated for a moment, looking at the small town she had called home. But then, with a steadying breath, she made her choice. "I'll come with you," she said, her voice firm now, her heart filled with determination. Together, they rode off into the night, away from the town, away from the rules that had bound her for so long. The road ahead was uncertain, and danger lurked around every corner. But for the first time, Isabel felt truly free. She was no longer the preacher's daughter, bound by duty and tradition. She was a woman of her own making, and with Elijah, she would face whatever came next together.